What's up, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Destiny Janae, aka your favorite astrology weather woman, or astrologer as some people call it. And babes, I need to show you the right way to consume horoscopes. It doesn't matter if you're reading them, you're watching them on YouTube, whatever the case, you have to know these things. So the number one thing that I personally recommend as an astrologer is to read for your rising sign. And this is because when you read for your sun sign, you're not really reading for your chart. Reading for your rising sign is as close to getting a professional horoscope reading as you can possibly get, because if you come to me as my client wanting a personal horoscope reading, I'm going to pull up your chart. And the thing is that your rising sign determines how your chart is laid out. So if you're reading for your sun or your moon sign, yes, you may resonate with it, but the thing is that sun and moon horoscopes are derivative. And that means that it's just symbolic. It's not where the planets actually are in your chart. So for example, if you have a Gemini moon but a Scorpio rising, as your astrologer, if I'm looking at your chart, I am not looking at a Gemini chart. I may look at transits that are activating your moon in Gemini, but at the end of the day, it is a Scorpio chart, meaning that Scorpio starts out the first house and the rest of your chart is literally created by that sign. And with that being said, on to my next point, I get a lot of comments of people saying, oh, well, I have both Virgo and Libra in my third house, and I have like more than one sign in my houses. And the thing is that the only way that you will get a horoscope using Placidus, which is they have more than one sign in one singular house, the only way that you will be able to get that is if you go specifically to an astrologer and you say, hey, I want my personal horoscope. And some astrologers use Placidus and some of them don't. I don't, because I'm a lot more of a traditional astrologer, meaning I like to have one house to one sign. I think it's a lot more clear cut. I think it helps out with the horoscopes a lot. And honestly, if you ask me, I think that using whole sign is a lot more accurate anyway, because if you're using something like Placidus, the thing is that most birth times, especially if you live in the United States, are off by like 15 to 20 minutes. So if you are using Placidus, the houses and the house sizes and the signs that are in each houses, that changes based on every single minute. And there is a very high chance that your birth time might be off by a few minutes or two. And so honestly, I think it kind of makes the whole Placidus house system crumble down, because it's not as accurate, if you ask me. But like I said, that just depends on your astrologer, which actually leads me into my next point, which is that you should find an astrologer that you naturally resonate with. Meaning you like how they explain things, you like how they talk, you like the techniques that they use. And the thing is, every single astrologer is different and they will attract a different type of audience to them. So if you found your way to my channel and you don't resonate with what I'm saying, or you don't feel like it's that accurate for you, that probably means that there's another astrologer out there who is going to be able to specifically explain things to you in a much better way. You know, it's no harm, no foul. And the thing is, you can watch more than one astrologer. Like, we're all gonna have a different perspective on like what we think is important in the astrology weather. We all have a different perspective on like which house system to use. And so if you're here on my channel, like, these are my thoughts and these are my techniques. But that doesn't mean that I'm the only astrologer in the world. Like, please, I ask you to actually go out, branch out, like, see what works for you. My next point is that I don't want you to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is very, very, very easy to happen. And it's kind of why I don't really want you to look at your horoscope too often, because I don't want you to like see something challenging coming up, right? And then assume that it has to be challenging. Or just automatically admit defeat or whatever, or just assume that you're also going to be successful and not really put in any work because you say, okay, well, there's good astrology coming my way. Who cares? Personally, as an astrology lover and a horoscope lover too, I prefer to kind of look at horoscopes, keep them in mind, and I really try to take the advice from them. Like, okay, well, this is something that may become a struggle, so I'm gonna take advice to take extra care of what I'm doing and to also be more patient because it may take a bit longer to get the results. Like, that's the type of person I am when I'm looking at my own horoscope. And also because the astrology weather can play out in a million different ways, because you do have a full birth chart. And so, you know, reading for your rising sign, yes, it'll tell you where the planets are currently in the astrology weather, but it's not going to tell you, okay, you have a moon Jupiter conjunction coming up. So this is what that's gonna mean for you. And so that's like a more specific situation where you'd want to go to an actual astrologer so they can look at your chart, so they can look at your life and give you a much deeper analysis. Because at the end of the day, all horoscopes are general. There are millions and millions and millions of people with the exact same rising sign as you, and a lot of you guys are going to have this astrology weather come up in different ways. And you know what? I trust you, and yes, you who's watching, I trust you enough to be able to look at your rising sign horoscope. And also, like, on any given astrology platform, you can pull up Synastry, you can pull up your charts, and then you can pull up the current date or whatever date you're asking about. And if you go down, it will literally tell you the aspects and you can Google them. I learned a lot of my astrology that way. And so my last point is that you should really always pay attention to your chart ruler and what your chart ruler is doing. So your chart ruler is basically the ruling sign of your rising sign. So for example, every zodiac sign has a planet that is its parent. So for example, Taurus is ruled by Venus, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and so on and so forth. It's really important to pay attention to that exact planet and all the aspects that it makes, because anytime your chart ruler makes a big aspect, or it goes retrograde, or there's a full moon involving your chart ruler, there is almost always going to be a very eventful thing happening in your life. And so another thing that I want to talk about is going back to the past. Too often people, and I used to do this too, will kind of consume a horoscope. You'll read a horoscope, you'll watch it, whatever, and then you'll kind of just go on about your life. What I think is really important, especially when you're trying to find an astrologer who's accurate for you, is to go back into the past, because the only way that we know anything about astrology, period, is because we study the past. Like, the reason I made my little astrology observation journal is so that I can literally journal all of the astrology weather. So now when I look at like certain transits, I can go back and look at the past, like, okay, what was I feeling? What was I thinking? What was happening? So was that transit like me changing up my diet and becoming a vegan, or was that just a really emotional roller coaster type of transit? And so like before I even made this astrology observation journal, I used to have journals where I would keep track of the date and like any specific planets or transits that were activated at the time. Like, I was observing my astrology for a long time. And if you're the type of person who journals a lot, you post on social media a lot, you can go back to those times and look up those dates, look up the astrology, and see something that was happening that probably made sense. It's a very high chance that that will happen. But let's go over everything we learned in this video, right? Number one, we learned to read for our rising sign. Number two, we learned that all horoscopes are written from the position of whole sign house system, and that Placidus can be a bit inaccurate because sometimes the house sizes can be a bit shaky, and that's why I personally don't use it very much in my own practice. Number three, we've learned to cast a wide net of astrologers, pick astrologers that you resonate with, and just leave the rest. Number four, we learned not to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Number five, we learned how to pay attention to our chart ruler. And number six, we learned the significance of going back and reading past horoscopes and seeing if it resonated and if that's what actually happened. Because I guarantee you, if there was a very wild time in your life where something was very eventful, maybe it was a huge breakup, maybe it was a move across the country, I guarantee you, if you go back and you Google like October 2021 horoscope, I guarantee you, you will find a transit that like makes sense for that thing that was happening to you. So with that being said, I love you guys so much. If you want to get a personal reading or a personal horoscope reading or whatever type of reading, you can get one on my website, destinyjanae.com. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I love y'all, and bye.